So what are your takeaways after going through this event where you weren't able to do as much for people?
Obviously, number one is most important. It's okay to say, no, I can't.
Right.
And then number two, it's amazing when you say, no, I can't, how resourceful people can be in other ways.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I like that. We're kind of pulled back. We can't provide that support to people. How resourceful people can be when they have to be, when they can't just easily depend on like ourselves for that support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I like what you said there. Welcome to Integrative Approaches and Healthier Living, a collaboration of Living Life Now and Bush Health Coaching, where we have conversations for living well. Guys, welcome into our channel. My name is Coach Chris. I'm a health coach by trade. This fine lass that is with me today is none other than Tami
Tomlinson.
Yep.
Better known as TT, as Chris likes to call me, TT.
TT. If it just flows off the tongue.
It does.
It does. It flows off the tongue. So yeah, today I guess we're just talking about life. We have both had I got sick first. You know, there's something going around in the world. I don't know what it was, but my brother-in-law had it, and then I got it, and then my wife got it, and then she gave it back to me, and just several of my clients throughout the world basically had almost, or at least it sounds like the same thing. And then you sound like you might have got it, but you're a special case.
I'm special.
With a capital S.
Special. Yeah, but I ended up with it because my sweet husband came home with it and decided
that he did too.
We needed to share it amongst
his sweet coworker passed it to him.
Oh yes, that's true. That's true.
He didn't want to.
He
didn't want to stay at home when he was sick, and so his sweet coworker passed it to him, and then he passed it.
And then he brought it home, and even though we, try to separate lives, this was, and it wasn't COVID or whatever, because tested for all of that nonsense too. So this was something above and beyond, but it stuck with me for a while. But it did you as well. So
yeah. I mean,
we're on the other side of that, so we're leaving that back there, and we're moving forward from here, and we are back at it. Back. Train is back on the tracks.
Yeah. So I guess then, where does that leave you right now? What is going on with you?
Well, like I mentioned a moment ago, just trying to catch up, and then doing so just all of the usual household things. And in the US here, we have this infamous tax day coming up, so I've been trying to get through that for whatever that's worth, and have that done in time, or file an extension, however that ends up working out. But
yes, exactly.
But yes. So
exactly.
Hubby's back on another travel trip, and I am here holding down the fort and
watching the
managing the household, managing my dad and his stepmom, and things are coming along with that slowly but surely. And
that's good.
He was just in the hospital. She's not been well.
Oof.
It's just been
it's
a lot. And then when you try to take care of yourself, and then people, when you don't feel good, then people call you because they're used to you always being there for them, right? And then when you can't, quote, be there, how does that work for the other person, And then we have to, tying in our boundaries thought process, right? We have to set our boundaries, and it's like, no, I need my healing time, and I can't carry the load for all the people.
Right. Yeah, that comes back to that conversation we were having before about, we chatted about like that analogy about the roof and the pillar and all of those things, but not to get into that too much. But yeah, I agree. It's especially in those times whenever I think that's, I guess one of the things I've seen a lot as a coach is that I feel like on some sides it should help us draw awareness to things a little bit more. Like one being that, well, if people are that reliant on your health, how much should your health matter? I think that's the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is well, like maybe just examining some of those things that people are reliant, on you for. I mean, yes, you're in a very particular case, and I think that's, something that I'm sure you can talk more about, but, where you're put in that situation where you're helping your family and other people in your other sides of the family aren't being that supportive. And so you're really having to, be the one that's kind of like stepping up. So,
well,
yeah.
and it's also difficult when we don't know what we don't know, right? To use that phrase. It's right. If you've never traveled or walked this road or climbed this mountain, because that's what it feels like some days.
Right.
And trying to reach out and find the right people to help you and not continually say, oh, I can't help you. I can't. Then you start to feel defeated.
Right.
And it takes a lot to manage everything and still pull yourself up by the bootstraps and stay the course.
Right. Right. What did you make of things like while you were sick? How did you deal with some of these things? Like, was it one of those where you take a step back and you're just saying, like, I can't manage these things? You're telling people, hey, I can't help you right now. Are you trying to, reach out to other people to help, get support? What does that look like? I guess is the question around.
Yeah, I think it really depended on who was asking. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it was, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you right now. I can't help you today.
Right.
Especially when I'm at my worst points,
mm-hmm.
Because I know I'm starting to get sick. I'm starting to like downward spiral a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that time frame where I know it's coming on, then I try to accomplish as much as I can before I hit the wall. Right. And then when I'm smack up against the wall, that time frame, whatever time frame that looks like, it's usually at least a good week for me.
Right.
Where it's like, no, sorry, I can't. You're going to have to figure this out on your own. And that's not really who I am. I will usually always do what I can to help others. But when I'm not well, all I can do is take care of myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know if I don't, I have a much more difficult time coming out of whatever illness it is. Even if it's a little weeny whiny cold, I don't really ever get just a cold. I always can turn it into something far more serious.
Well, of course, but I mean, not that we've mentioned this on this particular video, but you do have CF, and that
right.
definitely tends to, change the game and make it much more susceptible.
Well, and then too, though, because I always get CAT scans and whatever. X-rays don't do much for me anymore because they don't really show anything of importance. So my last CAT scan, while it wasn't necessarily any worse, my doctor was just really in awe of what the classic, clinically speaking, I'm sure like from a medical student standpoint, classic bronchiectasis. So I'm like, lucky me. So now we're going to start using my slides and scans and training and teaching. This is what bronchiectasis really looks like, which is technically holes in my lungs. So or anybody that has bronchiectasis for that matter, but it's treated differently if you have cystic fibrosis, bronchiectasis, versus not.
I guess a question kind of popping around in my head is, I guess, what was the fallout, or was there any like things that happened unusually during the time that you were sick with you not being able to support these people that are generally reliant on you?
I'm giggling because the Uber situation is what's coming to my brain.
Yeah, that's one thing, yes.
So my sister needed help acquiring a ride from point A to point B and didn't have access to her phone.
Right.
So she used somebody else's phone and called me and said, I need you to get me an Uber so I can get back to where I need to be. And right. I had some significant laryngitis this particular day. I felt like dog poo smashed on the bottom of somebody's shoe this day. Right. And I just was like, I've never used Uber. Sorry for the Uber people, but I had never used Uber, didn't know what to do with Uber. And it was a learning curve. I now have it. I know what to do. But I failed miserably on trying to get the car for her. And we had to wait for the specific time. And
how long did that all take to resolve? How long did that debacle last?
This whole Uber situation took me several hours. And I'm not even exaggerating. And I know it was because I felt so poorly that I didn't even have the thought process to like ask Google, ask anybody, because I didn't even know who to call to say, what do I do? And actually, no, I take that back. I did ask several people, how do I set up Ubers for somebody else? And they were like, oh, I know you can do it, but I've never done it before. And I was like, well, crap. This doesn't help me any. So I now know how to do it. I'm sure at some point in travel, my husband will call me and say, hey, hon, can you order me a car? I need to go from here to there. And I'll be like, okay, yeah. So, but it took me several hours. And then once I got the car, I thought ordered, I told her, I said, it's supposed to be there at 3:30, which was the time I was told to have it scheduled. And 3:30 came and went. 4:00, she calls me. She's like, there's no car here. And I'm like, okay, let me try again. And I did, and it worked flawlessly at that point. But also in between that like hour of time waiting for the pickup time, I did finally get enough sense in my brain to Google, how do I do this? And then I was like, oh, okay, I don't think I did that right the first time. So I wasn't surprised at that point that the car never showed, but now I know. Lessons learned.
So what are your takeaways after going through this event where you weren't able to do as much for people? And, given, say, like, yes, you have that scenario with your sister. I'm not sure if there's other scenarios. I guess what would your takeaways be, being on the flip side of the coin? Like, what did you learn from it, I guess? Besides Uber.
Well, I think obviously
how you're gonna challenge yourself to approach life differently, I guess.
I don't know that I'm gonna approach life differently. I think because it's my nature to help others.
Of course.
Right? I wouldn't be a coach, I wouldn't be a wellness educator if I wasn't passionate and drawn to helping others.
Right.
So with that in mind, I will, if it's not in my wheelhouse, I will do what other people did to me recently and say, sorry, I can't help you, but go here, go there, look there, call this person, that kind of a thing. But I think more importantly is when you tell somebody, and the people that were reaching out to me are friends and family. I mean, like, friends, band, family.
Can I mirror you just to make sure I understand correctly? So So I guess what I heard in my head when you were saying that was that going forward, you would kind of narrow your responsibilities, to these people, to things that are quote unquote in your wheelhouse, or
oh yeah, absolutely,
things that you're doing, not
absolutely. And I don't have a problem saying no, I can't do that.
Right. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. That's what I thought you were saying. I just wanted to clarify.
Well, yes, but I think to answer your ultimate question, what did I learn? What I learned was, obviously, number one is most important. It's okay to say no, I can't.
Right.
And then number two, it's amazing when you say no, I can't, how resourceful people can be in other ways.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I like that. That's actually what I was thinking in my head too, but it wasn't my place to say it. I wanted to hear you kind of, since you were talking.
You were sending me the vibe and saying, all right, Tami, this is what you need to say. Come on, TT, get it together over there.
No. I mean, I think that's one of the things I also, without saying too much myself, like, or stealing the limelight, I feel that's one big observation that I made myself from, coming out of being sick and having such a high level of responsibility with my work, is that there was like the song by Pink. It's like, what is this? Says something I'm going to like paraphrase it, but it just says something along the lines that, the world's been turning, like since like a long time ago. And basically the whole point of it is it's going to keep turning, whether my hands are on things, whether or not, it's going to be okay. And, just like yourself, I completely agree. I like helping people. I like being able to support people. So to reflect back to like what you're saying, it's amazing when we're kind of pulled back. We can't provide that support to people. How resourceful people can be when they have to be, when they can't just easily depend on like ourselves for that support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I like what you said there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Good deal. Good deal.
So from here, we're ready to just keep moving forward, keep the train on the tracks, and keep chugging along.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, anything that you want to leave before we hop back on the caboose?
No, nothing profound that I can think of really right this minute. Just that I'm grateful to be feeling better, that I think I'm fully on the other side without having to do IV antibiotics, which is always a pleasure. So yeah, for that, I'm just grateful. And I guess also grateful for a little downtime to just sit and reflect and be, but much happier that I feel better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have decent energy again.
Double-edged sword, right?
So true.
Yep.
So true.
Well, thanks guys for joining us. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, meeting with you as well, Tami.
Yes, likewise. Definitely.
If you like what we have to share or the things that we're talking about, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps support our channel and what we can do for you all.
And if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. We'll be happy to answer. Thanks so much. Take care, Chris. Be well.
Amen. Bye.
Bye.